Hey guys, if you're tired of just kind of strumming chords and not knowing how you can connect those chords with simple bass lines and make things really groove, today is going to be a great lesson for you. I'm going to show you some simple ways that you can create bass lines for vamps through some nice easy chord progressions. All kinds of great stuff, guys. You definitely don't want to miss this. Make sure you come by TastyGuitar.com to get the free tab on this lesson by subscribing on the bottom of the homepage, and check out membership in the description below. Let's get started. Alright, the first pattern I'm going to show you here, guys, is really cool because it's very versatile. You can use this to play with minor chords and dominant chords. So like minor 7th chords, or your dominant 7ths, or your 9th chords. Now the reason why this pattern is going to work really well over both minor chords and dominant chords is because there's no third. We're not using the third of the chord in any of these examples. It's only the root, the 5th, and the flat 7 of the chord. So let's kind of show it out of A minor here. Here's an A minor 7 chord. Obviously I got my root down there on the bottom. What is the 5th of A? Well, it's the E. I can use the open E string in this case, the flat 7 being G, which is always just a whole step below your root, and back to the root. So I could say play a pattern like this. You don't have to do the backbeat slap thing I'm doing, it's just kind of for feel. Now I could play it like this, but how else could I do it? Well, I got my 5th up here as well, and my flat 7 right here. So if we have a root on the low E string, the 5th of that chord is always going to be 2 frets up on the A string, and the flat 7 will be on the same fret on the D string. So it's just like kind of like a little pattern that you should recognize. Root, 5th, flat 7. Something like this. Alright, so what we just did there was based around the A minor 7 chord there at the 5th fret, which has the root right there on the low E string. But what if you wanted to do this with a chord that had the root on the 5th string, on the A string? So like this D minor 7 chord. Well, the root here, right there at the 5th fret on the A string, the 5th is going to be right underneath it, right there, the 5th fret on the low E string. The flat 7 of that D is the C note, and that's going to be up at the 8th fret. So now you have this little pattern. Root, 5th, flat 7, root. Again, root, 5th, flat 7, 3 frets up, root. So you could play it this way. Something like this. Or you could also do it, your root, your 5th, and your flat 7 down here, a whole step below your root at the 5th fret. Probably have to change your fingering up a little bit. So either way, you should know that pattern around a chord with the root on the 5th string. Alright, so that D minor 7, that was the 4 chord in the key of A minor. Let's say that we want to add a 5 chord, which is E. Say maybe this E 7 sharp 9 chord right here. Well, again, root, 5th, flat 7, root. I would probably go in this direction if I'm going to stick around here, but also you could play it here. Root, 5th, flat 7, root. Either way. Alright, so now we have all the chords we need to play a blues in A minor. So I'm just going to play a very simple thing here using these patterns. And like I mentioned before, we can use these patterns over dominant chords as well. So now I'll just kind of play a blues in A using dominant chords. Okay, so basically what I was doing there, playing this A7 chord, just a chord fragment up there, kind of based out of that bigger shape, and using the thumb there. So I was kind of moving like this, having to switch over from my index finger on the flat 7 quickly down to the thumb so I could grab this version of the A7 chord. I could grab that occasionally with the 5th and the flat 7 here. There's a D9 chord, and I just went down to the 5th, flat 7, and root of the D. Back to the 8, to the E, and again, that was just the 5th, flat 7, and root of E, kind of leading into that chord with that bass line. And then to the D chord, I could do the same thing. Back to the A. Pick it up, 3, 4. Four. Five chord coming up. 4. There you have it. All right, the next couple patterns I'm going to show you work great for all kinds of different major chords. They could be just a major triad, it could work in a dominant chord, or even a major 7 chord. So let's take, say, the A major bar chord right down here at the 5th fret. First off, you need to know where the root, 3rd, and 5th of that chord are. So obviously the root, just right down there on our A note at the 5th fret. The 3rd of A is C sharp. We got it right there on the A string at the 4th fret. And the 5th of the chord, the E, same place we had it before, right there at the 7th fret. Now the same thing applies here. You don't have to play these notes in order. I don't always have to play a root, then the 3rd, and then the 5th. You could, take things out of order, make any kind of rhythmic variation or order of these notes that you like. Okay, also we can slide into notes, especially like the 3rd. That always sounds nice, kind of sliding in there. I could also play the 3rd of the chord up here on the 9th fret on the low E string. There may be some times when you might want to do that. Okay, so now we have this pattern. Root, 3rd, 5th. Root, 3rd, 5th. That same C sharp note, it's just up at the 9th fret on the low E. I can slide up into it if I want. You do some simple things like that. Okay, so now what if we have a chord that has the root on the A string? So take our D major chord. All right, so where is my root and 5th now? Now usually you would probably want to go below on the guitar, so like down to the 3rd on the low E string, because it's going to be a little high up here. So the 3rd of D is F sharp, and we have the F sharp right down there at the 2nd fret on the low E. There's the 3rd. The 5th, still right underneath the root. So you got a root there. 5th is going to be right underneath. So root, 3rd, 5th. All right, so say I wanted to connect those two chords with some simple bass lines using these patterns. I could have my root, 3rd, 5th for the A here, root, 3rd, 3rd, 5th for the D there to kind of keep it on the bottom. Something like this. Alright, another really great note combination that works very well with major chords is the 5th, 6th, and the root combination. Okay, so let's just keep these same chords, the A major there, keeping things simple. Obviously, root still in the same spot. The 5th, we can play that E still right up there at the 7th fret. The 6th is always going to be a whole step above your 5th. So root, 5th, 6th. And again, you could have these in any order, any kind of rhythmic combination you want. I could combine that 5th, 6th root with the triad, the root, 3rd, and 5th. And put the chord on top. Alright, in this case I still have my 5th down there on the open E string, then the F sharp there, the 6th at the 2nd fret, so I could do that as well. Just slid up from the 5th to the 6th and hit the root up on top. You could also combine it with the major triad that we did earlier, the 3rd and the 5th there. So you could just experiment with this and try to come up with different combinations using that 5th, 6th root and the triad together. And of course you also need to look and see where that 5th and 6th lies if you have a chord with the root on the 5th string. So say I'm playing bass around this D9 chord right here, root right there on the 5th string, 5th always going to be directly underneath, and the 6th whole step up from that. So root, 5th, 6th. And when you know where these patterns are, then try to connect some different chord progressions. So say if I'm just going 1 to 4 again on dominant chords, maybe I can connect the root, 3rd, and 5th on the 1 chord, connect that with, say, this D9 chord down here for the 4 chord, and then use root, 5th, 6th for the 4 chord, and see what that'll sound like. Back to the triad. So just try different things and start making some connections.